2, 1. Madam Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, in countries with large ethnic minorities, like in India, Indonesia, France, and Australia, you have a melting pot of different religions, races, cultures, and identities. The question I have since Prime Minister, that 35 minutes in this debate, there's been no answer, is what exactly are they going to assimilate into? What language, what historical narrative, what acceptable behavior, what culture, or what religion or identity are they necessarily gonna opt into? Is it English and Christianity, Hinduism and Hindi, Chinese and Buddhism? Because side proposition is motivated by this kumbaya picture of secularization, but fails to explain what lens are we going to take a look at and what ideology do they have to assimilate into. Make no mistake, this is a debate about a heavy emphasis, and they need to be able to make a clear trade-off of what exactly that is going to look like. Because if it's as hostile as Prime Minister characterizes it to be, then the opportunity cost of assimilating into one particular identity or religion creates historic backlash to these particular people that can lead to violence, xenophobia, and racism that can literally put the children, their parents, and these entire educational institutions under heavy scrutiny from the international community and can even create more conflict. Make no mistake, the reality of religion, culture, and identity is that it's not monolithic. Opening opposition talks about dynamism, but not gonna lie, bro, it's kinda rare that people change their religion, culture, and identity. So more than being something dynamic, it's actually something that has huge amounts of intersectionality, ladies and gentlemen, and these things, even among minorities, are largely fragmented in nature for these particular communities, and even these particular people have specific religious and cultural nuances. Meaning, there is no ideal standard of what it means to be a correct or ideal Christian, Muslim, or Hindu. We recognize the Overton window and how some people are more centrist and in the middle. Some are more progressive and liberal, while others are more on the right and are conservative. And we necessarily should not expect these particular people, nor the state and educational systems, to have to box these particular people into those identities dictated by that schooling system. It's on-side proposition where immigrants and their children who work super fucking hard to find themselves integrating within this large ethnic minority and even within that state become a shell of themselves when you assassinate their identity and sacrifice nationalism in the guise of an illusion. In the guise of an illusion that you are all similar, wherein in reality, these particular people are different. They use schools as a socio-political battering ram to forward this change and create an image of what these people should be and how they look like. The path to victory of closing opposition is simple, something that opening had missed. Number one, what really is the duty of schools and the state insofar as teachers, parents, and their children are concerned? Number two, what is the opportunity cost of heavy emphasis, something that both opening teams glibly missed and didn't necessarily explain the trade-off? Because we need to understand that if there really is this cultural infighting and pressure, you perpetuate that infighting. The point in which these particular individuals are actually going to be forced to have to opt into this thing. And I question the consistency of closing government, because opening government was motivated by, yeah bro, it's kind of toxic, it's kind of scary, closing governments, this whole like, it's gonna be fine, kumbaya thing. Pick a frame. Because if it's as hostile as it is, you get the backlash I mentioned in my pre-oration, and if it's as nice and kumbaya as closing government portrays it to be, then what is the harm of integration wherein these particular people are able to find themselves? Thirdly, and most importantly, I am going to talk about an extension of the state and talk about more than just birth lottery, what exactly this looks like and how what you learn in school can affect your civic life and what exactly this cultural integration even looks like. The first thing I have to say is that cultural integration is a process. You have a two-way, multiple dialogue and discourse among these particular minorities themselves and even the majority of people who might be, I don't know, agnostic, atheist, or very secular, which is something that you see in the countries I characterized in my introduction. There are a couple of mechanisms in which this takes place in school. A, the celebration of multiple festivals and days within the calendar year of these different cultures and identities to be able to be made aware of and respected. B, the ability of looking at pluralist ideologies wherein people can actually join certain educational groups motivated by their religion and culture, like Chinese appreciation, Indian appreciation, Islamic appreciation, and not necessarily having to forgo that or choose one over the expense of the other. C, the formation and support of cultural heritage sites and ethnic enclaves like Little India, Little Tokyo, and Chinatown that actually exist outside your school because your parents probably work or set up shop there as immigrants. I'm sorry, it's out of order. You should have raised it earlier. D, the proliferation of understanding nuances of EPL, EFL, and ESL, something we see in debate. Imagine if we sacrifice and forgo all of that in order to cater to those who are just EPL or whoever speaks that particular Asian language. The impacts here are simple. You create a dangerous precedent of how people portray civil life and harm the ability of students to actually take a look at the other person who might also be Chinese, who might also be Indian, as someone different from them. A couple of impacts you get exclusively on our side. Number one, schools are now able to better compete against a globalized world to be able to stick at that of Ivy Leagues and other schools around the world. Two, you get a precedent of understanding what these safe spaces are for these people. 3, you protect immigrants and minorities and their parents and children. 4, you get the preservation and intersectionality of religion and culture because religion is something not just dynamic, but something very important, and you have huge amounts of intersectionality among these cultural enclaves. And for all of these reasons, we are very proud to stand on side negative.